Trump has been indicted. Oh no, what does this mean for this terrible next presidential cycle we're all going to have to suffer through for the next almost 2 years? Speaking right now with Dexter Tarbox, a new contributor over at the NewEnglandTake.com. Conservative guy who's written some opinion pieces for New Hampshire Journal and some other outlets in the past. Excited to have him on the roster. But I mean, when you first heard a couple weeks ago with Trump, obviously, of course, is the one that says is the first one to put it out there. I'm going to be arrested on Tuesday, which is just total Trump. It's like I don't like Trump morally, but oh my God, he's just a beautiful man when it comes to moments like that. What I had a little bit of the cynicism in my heart, I guess, but what popped in your head when you saw that was likely happening?
Well, no, you're absolutely right. I wrote a piece for another journal at the time when this started to come out, and yeah, you have to almost disassociate the moral judgments that you can make about Trump and some of his behaviors from the legal case and the way that he's handled it, because of course it's handled in classic Trump style. I'm sure, and I think he's even expressed this, that he is hoping to be handcuffed on his way in. I think he's going to have to resign himself to only having the mugshot and the fingerprinting, but those will get enough play on their own. I think even without the handcuff photos of him being led like a mafioso into the courthouse. But generally, the first thought I had the other day when it came out that he was in fact indicted, which came sort of unexpectedly in terms of the timeline. It was announced just before that the grand jury was going to be going on a break. But my first thought, I'll tell you, was that George Soros is certainly getting his money's worth in Alvin Bragg. He was, of course, someone who was heavily supported by Soros in his election for Manhattan District Attorney. But what a motley crew. I mean, we've got this dumpy prosecutor who's otherwise completely failed at his mandate as a law enforcement official. I mean, crime is rampant in Manhattan. I think it's somewhere north of 50% of the violent crimes that have been referred to his office have been dismissed by his office. As a star witness in this case, we've got a self-aggrandizing convicted liar who is very thin on credibility. And at the center, we have this wisecracking Baton Rouge call girl, essentially, who's tying the whole piece together. So they're surely not sending their best here. Um,
It's just
uh,
bonkers. The whole thing is like this is a cartoon just made for TV. Like Ben Shapiro, podcaster, said it best. Like every year is we got the next season of the Donald Trump show. Guess what? You're just living in Donald Trump's world, and good luck to all of us as we try and navigate it because it's just the crazy cast that basically still runs this country.
it really is. I mean, they're writing his campaign ads for him with this group. I think was it the Georgia case or one of the other grand jury cases that had come up recently, and they had the grand jury foreperson, this woman coming out. She's this sort of wild-eyed loon talking about how much she wished she could have administered the oath to him had he testified. And this is the cast of characters that we're looking at. And again, as I say, it is really writing the ad for him, and it's a funny one and it's memorable. Because what's more on this whole thing, the merits of the case seem extremely weak. Whether you like Trump or not. This is what I covered the other week for that other journal. And, the legal basis of the case seems totally contrived. You
Which makes
know,
sense because it's totally a cynical political move. Like I keep having to
absolutely.
use the damn word cynical and everything, but so much of
It's
politics around
appropriate.
Trump
Yeah.
is cynical. There's no way around. It's the reason why Ted Cruz did a bunch of things he did. It's the reason why Mitch McConnell does what he does, and as well as all the Democratic leadership, he definitely would say the same thing. And I mean, when you look at what I've been saying this nonstop is like it's basically an Al Capone move. This is how they got rid of Al Capone. They got him on tax fraud, not the murders, not RICO, not anything like that. It ended up being they were able to snag him for this one little thing. They had two attempts to try and nail this guy and get him out of office, or in the very least make sure he couldn't run for office again with the impeachment hearings, and they failed miserably. They did not succeed. They if it was handled differently, if they made different cases, maybe I think there was a legitimate chance they could have done it, but the political operators are
This
political
case
operators.
itself. this case itself was reviewed by the DOJ, the FEC, and Alvin Bragg's own office, his predecessor and him himself. And they all dismissed this case. Obviously, some sort of pressure was applied. He had a few people quit his office, one of whom wrote a book later. So I doubt that was the sole pressure that was applied to make this happen. But even this case, has been rejected by a number of other law enforcement and investigative authorities. So I mean, this is a stinker that they have completely drawn up. Again, cynical is the word,
Yeah. I think 538 did a pretty good write-up on this. I'll put in the episode description on YouTube. Basically, there are three scenarios. So it's how Trump's indictment could affect the 2024 election. There's three scenarios, basically. It hurts Trump, it doesn't hurt Trump, or none of this matters. And I think that those are the only ways you can really look at this, is because if it's going to end up hurting Trump, it basically means they somehow make these charges stick. He's unable to run because then he'll be, I guess he'd be a felon at that point.
I mean,
With
you
some
could
of
run
these.
from prison. I don't think a felony is it's a disqualifier from voting if there's felony disenfranchisement. But I don't think he's disqualified from running. In fact, even if they convict him of the felony, is he?
I'm not sure. I thought it. Let's see. While the indictment does not legally disqualify Trump from serving as president, it sure will make many voters hold it against him. Because ultimately, in theory, and once again, we're talking this is bad for Trump's situation. It'll turn around a lot of those middle of the road voters that ended up voting for Biden, saying, "I'm not going to vote for a felon."
Well, or the other way, or I might vote for him to protect future political officers from these sorts of acts of retribution.
Exactly. This very much could help him. Like, this is, and as it is with the MAGA base, which is, I want to say, 30% of Republican voters right now. The MAGA base this is only going to reinforce. They're going to make Trump a martyr. And they're now even more full MAGA-fied against it, as my buddy Matt Robeson has said. Like, this just takes it to another level.
Well, and the fact of the matter is, the grand jury phase is the notoriously easy part.
Yeah.
Getting these charges past a judge, let alone a jury, that's an unlikely road.
Yeah, it's an uphill battle for any of this to actually make it anywhere. And the way Trump is a smooth political and legal operator. He goes like a bull in a china shop, but ultimately he knows to somehow get these fixers like Cohen and such that know how to get things out of the legal system as quickly as possible. Get him out of the way, mess with the evidence, work the witnesses as much as possible. So either it takes forever and interest is lost in actually ever going to court, and they end up settling or something to that effect, or he just glides right by, and I think that's what's going to happen.
Oh, I don't think he's going to settle. He's going to draw this out and make
Oh
as
yeah,
big a spectacle as he possibly can, as well he should.
yeah. Yeah, he'll end up in office again, and then they'll have to say, screw it, I guess. We can't try, like they literally are, I believe, unable to try a sitting president at the state level for something like this.
Yeah, I don't think that they can. Yeah, even though Bragg has tried to sort of smash in some federal to revive the statute of limitations, for example, brought in the federal election violation element. Again, even attempting to do that, I don't think is going to be successful, at least at preventing him from office. Only the impeachment could have done that, and as you say, that failed twice.
We have only about a minute left here, but I will say scenario number 3, it won't matter, is definitely viable. I mean, everyone's already had their conclusions on this guy. It's going to come down to political operations of however the next set of primaries are going to play out.
He was forgiven the Access Hollywood tape, which came
Yes.
out before the 2016 election. He'll be forgiven this by his supporters either way.
Yeah, definitely. All right, we're out of time on this segment. Dexter Tarbox, thank you so much for joining me. It's been fun.
Thanks, AJ. Great seeing you.
So, all right, so we're going to get Dexter on once a month or so, and hopefully down the road get him producing some of his own stuff, so I don't need to do as much work, which is always appreciated. Check out the NewEnglandTake.com, at New England Take on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you know the places, all the social medias. Like, subscribe. Definitely be sure to subscribe on YouTube. We're trying to build up that audience there, and check out our YouTube shorts, pulling little clips from each of these episodes. So, the New England Take, I'm your host, AJ Kierstead. Talk to you next week.